when you talk about climate change and biodiversity, there's a huge linkage. This year is the year of biodiversity, and at the moment, our aim is really to get people to appreciate, what we have in our environment, the biodiversity that we have. That's our aim now, because at the moment I think we have this nice environment around us, and people just take it for granted. Our initial aim now is to show our people and our friends who have come back to live here that this is what we have in our environment. This is the biodiversity that we have in our environment, and because we believe that before we can conserve something, before we can look after something, we have to know what it is and what's there.
There were people of all different levels of fitness, but everybody took it at their own pace, and we'd all stop to regroup at every so often along the walk. So we all managed to stay together.
So I want you to enjoy. Don't forget it. If you're tired, stop and take a little sleep. And then when you wake up, don't run. You can enjoy walking here. We're all meeting up at the 400-meter mark. Any question? Anybody like to ask a question? All right, we're going up. Have your back up. Bring it here.
I mean, when we talk about climate change, we're talking about gases in the air. When we talk about biodiversity, we're talking about the living things that can help, let's say, get rid of some of the gases in the atmosphere. Basically, what I'm saying is there's a cycle between all the fumes that's going on and all the trees that's growing. Okay, all the we have carbon dioxide released in the air, and we have all the plants, and the plants especially, that sucks in the carbon dioxide and changes and brings out oxygen. There's that conversion thing with the trees. That's the biggest thing about biodiversity in relation to climate change. When we talk about trees, we're not only talking about planting trees. We also had to be careful of how everybody's going into development. Everybody's going into land clearing, excavation, and all these things.
The message was about climate action. It was about getting our world leaders to make a stand for stronger targets. 350 event here in the Cook Islands. In the end, was a lot to do with the symbolism of the effort. In the end, we had about 50 people who were participating, and every single person on the day made their little bit of effort. It's such an important issue for us here in the Cook Islands, but also in the Pacific Islands. It was important to get people here to participate in this event, to stand up against climate change, because we're the ones that are going to be affected. Way down. Once we got up to the needle itself, up to the peak, we had a photographer go to a ridge basically opposite the needle, and that's where they did some of the photos from. We had a banner, but lots of other people bought Cook Islands flags. They made their own banners. It was great, and we had people who were young and old. We had people from the local kids from the local Scouts group, all different organisations, NGOs, government departments, even some of the crew of the Greenpeace ship Esperanza, which was in at the time. The photos that we took and the videos that we took and made immediately after the day were posted on the Global 350 site.
Oh my goodness, there's
Oh, is it the MV?
I want to go over there. I want to climb up the tree.
250.
Oh, Cook Islands.
Sorry.
Okay, Tim. Have a rest. Stay here, we'll get the close up. No. We stay here. Yeah, they're going to come back.
We'll get some close-ups.
From down the bottom.
So everyone just have a break.
Anyway, when we got to the top, also Pasha Carruthers from NES did a speech about climate change, about the science, the politics. She explained 350 to a lot of us, and we all learned so much on that day.
That we started noticing and starting collecting the data on what might be happening here. And at the same time, we're looking at what's happening internationally in terms of the research and the science, and we're contributing to that science. We've got our Met Service that's collecting regular data on the sea level, and it is definitely rising, but we're not sure when exactly sea level will start rising. But we do know that once a certain amount of ice melts, then it's going to start rising, and all the research from the Arctic and the Antarctic is showing rapid melting of land-based glaciers. So the reason 350, in a nutshell, is because that's what the science is telling us is a safe level to avoid climate change. 350 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to avoid going over 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature above pre-industrial levels. So pre-industrial is just when machinery and manufacturing and the engine burning fossil fuels really started. So that's why it's 350. A lot of developed countries are saying that 450 parts per million would be acceptable. 450 parts per million we now know is associated with between 3 and 4 degrees temperature increase. 3 and 4 degrees temperature increase might not sound much, considering now today is maybe 2 or 3 degrees cooler than it was yesterday, but for our coral reefs, they can't handle an increase in the average temperature over a long period of time of more than a couple of degrees. And coral reefs are so important for us here in the islands. There's also the effects on rainfall patterns and the effects on cyclones. When the sea surface temperatures are over 27 degrees Celsius and you have a low pressure system, the conditions are right for cyclones to form. The warmer the waters, the more energy there is for the cyclones. So those kind of increases in temperature just mean more storms, more droughts, more floods, more extremes in the weathers, and that's you know, and a shift in the average climate conditions. And for a place like this, which has so few, especially the northern group atolls and everything, they're maximum 2 meters above sea level. So it's not just the sea level, it's all the other impacts as well. So that's what why we're advocating 350. And it's not just the NGOs, it's governments. All the small island governments are calling for 350 parts per million. And we're facing a real battle at the international level. So it's great that the NGOs have collaborated with government and are calling, and all over the world, the people like you guys are calling for 350 parts per million. So thanks guys for coming out and supporting it.